What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fox Den, and welcome to another car part review. Welcome to those of you who are new to the channel, because I know there's going to be plenty of you. So today we are reviewing the Swift lowering springs for the Infiniti G37X Sedan. Now, these particular springs I will be reviewing today are the 4N907-Fs. These are the slightly more aggressive springs versus the 4N908s. So they offer slightly more drop than those springs. So make sure when you purchase these springs, if you decide to purchase them, that you know which one you are purchasing. There's a big difference between the 4N907s and the 4N908s. So make sure you know what you want. Make sure you know if it's gonna work. Without further ado, let's check out how the car looks, and then we're gonna take the G on a drive. I'll show you guys how it handles. That'll be all GoPro footage. I think I might have finally gotten that sorted out from the in-cabin video that I was struggling with before with the exhaust videos. So anyway, let's do this. I don't want to make this too long, and yeah, hope you enjoy, and I hope this is informative. Alright guys, so those of you who are new to the channel, this is my car. This is my 2011 Infiniti G37X Sedan. It has tune on it, has high flow cats, full Motordyne exhaust. So if you're interested, maybe subscribe, I would appreciate it. So this is with the Swift lowering springs. Now these wheels are 19-inch ESR RF2 wheels with Achilles ATR Sport tires on it. These are 225/45 R19s. So you can see the car sits at a very nice height. This is, I would say, about 80% my daily driver. For the most part, my other daily is kind of the truck over there. But so these particular springs have a 1-inch drop on the back. They offer a 1.3-inch drop on the front. This makes the car look so much more aggressive, and you can see with these wheels and everything else that's done to the car, it just looks fantastic. Let's flash some before pics into the video now so you can see what this looked like before the springs. So yeah, you can see pretty big difference, not only in how the car looks, but how the car handles. The car handles much more solidly. It's much more planted to the road. Better overall driving experience in general. The car just feels much more sporty. Now here are some things you need to know. You cannot, at least with my wheel setup, you cannot get it in stock alignment specs. This, if you wanted to do that, you would have to get a camber kit. These, being the more aggressive springs, they do add camber to the car, and quite a bit too. The car has been aligned at this point, but you do need a camber kit if you want to get perfect stock alignment specs. But honestly, it's not so much out of spec where it's gonna really be an issue. I've been driving the car for about a month now or so with the springs, and the we got the alignment specs as close as we were able to get them, and I haven't had any issues. I'm not noticing any uneven tire wear. Of course, eventually it will wear unevenly. It'll shorten the life of the tires, but I'm fine with it. It looks great, and I'm not gonna put a camber kit on this car because I'm done modding this car. Those of you who don't know, I am finished with this car. I'm happy with it. So anyway, if you're able to live with that fact that your tires won't last quite as long as they probably should, then these springs will be fine for you. But honestly, the car drives perfectly smooth. If otherwise, it doesn't cause any issues with that. And you can see here, it does have a little bit of camber, but not too much. Obviously, it's not slammed camber, anything ridiculous like that. It's just a nice little bit of camber. It looks real nice. So I did install these myself. I tried to make an installation video, but if you can judge by the way my thumbnail looks, you can see that did not go too well. So I never actually finished that video, but I'm going to throw in some clips so you can see what the springs look like outside of the car, and then I'll throw in some clips just for fun. If you want to skip that, just skip ahead to get to the rest of the review. Alright, this sucked. So I finally got the first strut out. Took way longer than it should have. Had to remove this clamp that goes here, which looks like that, because as far as I'm concerned, it's this thing. There's no way to get this out of there unless you do that. I don't care what anybody says. Of course, we want to put spring compressors on this first and just tighten them down a bit so you don't have a spring flying everywhere and all that sort of thing. Alright, so luckily we were able to get it out. You You can see the difference between the stock and the Swift. Swift is a little bit shorter. There's two versions of these springs. One has a less aggressive drop, and then there's the model that has the more aggressive drop. It's got a couple tenths of an inch more. These are the slightly more aggressive ones. I believe it's the 4N908s or something that has the less aggressive drop. So yeah, the back ones were really easy to install. There's plenty of video on Alex KRN's channel. You can check that out to install these yourself if you wish to do so. The front ones were kind of a pain, but honestly, once you've done it at least once, it's really not too bad. So as far as like daily driving practicality of these springs, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Now here's the reason being, these are the more aggressive springs, so they are a little bit lower. Now, I do have the full Motordyne catback exhaust. For those of you who know a thing or two about that exhaust, it hangs pretty low. So if I drive over something that's even considerably kind of uneven, or you know, driving into a parking lot or something that has something like this and then it goes like that or whatever, it will scrape. So, but it's the exhaust that's scraping. So honestly, if you don't have the Motordyne exhaust, or if you are like me who is going to find a way to get it raised up, you'll be fine. The car itself, I have not scraped it on anything except the exhaust. That's just how the exhaust is. One thing to note, however, is that you gotta avoid potholes. These springs can make the potholes extremely jarring. It's pretty bad, so you definitely want to avoid the potholes. But if you can do that, honestly, this is just fine for daily driving, and it's just as smooth as stock, really. Even with that extra bit of camber and the alignment specs not being exactly where they should be, it's like a stock ride. Of course, it's more stiff all the way around over bumps, and you can feel bumps more, but it's just as smooth. You can kind of see it in there, light red springs. But again, you saw those in the previous clips, so. But yeah, with all the other mods that's done to this car, it just looks fantastic. And honestly, you really have to see it in person to really appreciate how much the drop actually improved the look of this car. It is phenomenal. It's not just the wheel gap that these springs improved, it is also the entire car. The entire car, I don't really know how to explain it, but the entire car just looks so much better, more aggressive. It's just, it looks great. So these springs offer a 1-inch drop in the back and a 1.3-inch drop in the front. And you can see the drop is pretty even. However, on the other side, you will probably have noticed that the back has a little bit more wheel gap. That's because my driveway is very uneven, so don't worry, it's a completely even drop. It's just how my driveway is. It's kind of blah, blah. So you can put on this side, you can kind of really see how even it is and how awesome it looks. So anyway, with that, we are going to take this thing on a drive and give my thoughts. We'll take a couple turns and show you, yeah, give my final thoughts. All right, so we are out in my G. Two things. I apologize for the fan noise. I apologize the way my interior looks. We are currently in the process of vinyl wrapping the interior. So we don't have the center control stack in the car, so I can't turn off the fans. So please bear with me on that. And also the GoPro mount is kind of crooked. That's as good as I was able to get it. Please bear with me. I'm really trying my best to make this as good as possible. Anyway, so the overall feel of the car it's very close to stock, but it feels more sporty overall. You can feel a lot more of the little bumps. I make that sound really bad. It's really not much more, but you can tell that the car feels better. So on the turns here, and I'll get into manual mode because you get more balance and all that stuff, and it just takes the corners so much better than the stock springs. And mind you, this is the X. This is not the sport model with the stiffer struts. It just takes the biggest thing, it takes corners with so much less body roll. That was a pretty big turn, and it's planted to the road so much more. And you can probably hear it. It drives smooth. There's no wobbling, there's no vibrations. So obviously, as I previously have mentioned, the bigger bumps are a little bit more unforgiving, especially potholes. Those can get pretty rough, but if you can avoid those, be good. The car just has loads of improved handling with these springs. It is really kind of remarkable, especially with the minimal amount of drop versus, you know, springs that will make your car, you know, completely static slammed. It's a perfect spring setup for daily. It's flawless. I have no complaints. And that, with the combination of the wheel setup I have, really adds to the handling, because obviously the wheel setup has more offset, or positive offset, versus the stock wheel setup. And the car is just so much more fun to drive with these springs. So we're about to hit a pretty good bump, so there's no avoiding it. So yeah, you could hear it. It's kind of jarring, but if you can get used to that, if you can avoid the potholes, I don't see why you really couldn't, how you could go wrong with these springs. I mean, they're cheap. They're like 315 bucks. That's all they cost. They're very good quality. Swift is a very good brand. Then they're not paying me to make this video, anything like that. They are a very good brand, very good quality. I've heard nothing but good things about them. The car just feels so much more tightened up now. And I was putting these off for the longest time. And my guy that I know, that he did them, but he had the less aggressive springs. So I ended up getting the more aggressive ones because of my wheel setup. And I have no regrets. If you are on the fence of getting these springs for your G Sedan, what are you waiting for? The car just feels so much more sporty. It feels so much more stout. It takes corners with so much less body roll. I mean, it still has body roll, but compared to what it was, the 4x4, you know, status it had before, it is just so much better. And the car already handles decent from the factory. I just highly, highly recommend that you do yourself a favor and go out and get these springs. One other thing I've noticed is the car might get off the line quicker. That might just be me totally just making this shit up, but if I feel like the car gets off the line a little bit more quickly, because there's not as much you know, suspension travel and the stiffer suspension, and you know, the torque of the engine, because your car does this when you hit the gas pretty hard, and now there's less of that. So I feel like the car gets off the line quicker. I might be just totally, you know, you might think I'm on pot or something when I'm saying that. I think that's actually a thing, but I do honestly believe that it does get off the line faster. So here's what I was talking about. We're about to pull in that parking lot I was talking about where I usually scrape. Sometimes I can avoid it. Yep. I hit it a little bit there. Up there it is again. So if you have the Motordyne exhaust, you're definitely going to want to look into getting different exhaust hangers. That's something that I have to work on to stop this exhaust from scraping, because yes, that's the only place that I scrape the exhaust, but I come in this parking lot every day, and you can't have that. You know, it's a $2,000 exhaust. But if you don't have the Motordyne, and you're gonna get it taken, if you do have the Motordyne, you're gonna get it taken care of like me, then That's it. That is really the only problem I've had with these springs, is that Motordyne exhaust that just hangs so low. But anyway, guys, final thought, it completely changes the way the car drives, and I mean that in a good way. Yes, the ride is a little bit more rough, it's more stiff, which is the whole point. The car has so much more stiffness to it. I say that like it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. The car just feels, it feels like what a sports sedan should feel like. Got a lot more handling, so much less body roll, and I'd imagine if you put these springs on the sport model, it will feel even better because it has stiffer struts. So it'll actually probably have better handling than the regular X has. But yeah, a lot less body roll, takes corners so much better. The car feels so much more planted to the road. Just driving in a straight line, you can feel it. It's much more planted. I might be making this up, but I really feel like the car gets off the line faster. It does. I really feel like it does. And overall, the main point, it looks great. You saw what it looks like, and it's not just the wheel gap that it fixes, it's the whole car. The whole car looks better. Everything just looks better about the car. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the Swift Spring review on the Infiniti G37X Sedan. If you have more questions about these springs, hit me up on Instagram at SilverFoxG37. If you are new around here, make sure you subscribe and join the Fox Pack today, because if you enjoyed this video, you are going to enjoy all my other videos and what's to come. We got so much stuff going on very soon. We got more videos of this thing and things going on. We're about to finish the interior, all that stuff. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at SilverFoxG37. Don't forget to follow our new racing club at SilverFox Racing Group. Remember, life is too short to stay stuck, and it's only illegal if you get caught. Stay foxy.